All right, guys, so going to the nervous system first and foremost. Nervous system obviously is all about sending signals and receiving signals. We're going to talk about the divisions of the nervous system. We're going to talk about introduce some new words like histology, physiology, pathology as we're going forward. And then we're going to hopefully end the week, maybe Thursday or Friday this week, with a guest speaker talking about some pathology of the nervous system. So that's some exciting stuff we got coming up. First thing we need to do is talk about the organization of the nervous system. Two big giant divisions of the nervous system. The central nervous system, the CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, which is the PNS, that you have to be very careful not to say too fast. PNS? Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're welcome for that. All right, so the central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord, we'll talk about that a lot more after because we're actually going to come back and deal with the brain and spinal cord specifically when we talk about the cranial nerves. There's 12 nerves on each side of your brain that come directly out of your brain. Every other nerve in your body comes out of your spinal cord. Spinal cord has certain divisions. We'll talk about that as well. James was jumping the gun talking about the cauda equina, which is the frayed bottom, horsetail looking thing at the bottom of your spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system is normally what we think about when we think about nerves. All of the nerves outside of your body, all of the nerves on the edges, the periphery of your body, all of the nerves that aren't either directly coming out of your brain or your spinal cord. And then we can break down that peripheral nervous system into divisions as well. We have the sensory division, which is going to go from our body to our central nervous system, not necessarily to our brain, which I'll talk about in a second, but then you also have your motor division. Motor division is where your brain and spinal cord are telling your body what to do or how to react. Now, I said that there was sensory division nerves that don't necessarily go to the brain. Can anybody think of a sense that we have and a reaction that we have in response that doesn't go to the brain? If it doesn't go to the brain, what does that mean we don't do? Go ahead. No, we do lots of things in our body that don't have anything to do with the brain. There's a movement that you can do that has nothing to do with your brain. If it doesn't go to our brain, what do we not do? We don't think about it. We don't think about it. It's something that just happens. And so there's lots of movements that instead of going to your brain to get the information, to take that time to get you to think about it, they have to happen very, very fast. They happen so fast that they're going to take that nerve signal, go into your spinal cord, go to the spinal root ganglia, which is just a little bundle of extra nerves in your spinal cord, and then immediately come right back out and tell your muscle to do something. What type of movements am I talking about? Movement, what's up?
Spasm?
Spasms are just the muscle by itself without any nerves.
Oh.
It's the nerves that are smart enough to tell that muscle, do this now or else. Think about that little kid in the kitchen. Mama's cooking on the stove. Little kid reaches up. This looks interesting. What might happen? Might touch something that's
hot.
And then does the kid have to think, this is hot. Let me move my hand. No. What's the body do? The body has what word starts with an R? A reaction, but there's a better word. A reflex. Absolutely. Reflexes, a lot of our reflexes do not go to the brain. A lot of our reflexes, actually, you have what's called a stretch reflex. This is what happens when you're sitting on the corner of the table and the doctor takes his little hammer and hits your knee. He actually doesn't hit your kneecap. He doesn't hit your patella. He hits right below your patella at that tendon, and it stretches that tendon, and your brain, or actually not your brain, your spinal root ganglion says, hey, this muscle's about to tear. We need to get the pressure off this muscle immediately, and what does your leg do? It gets that pressure off that muscle. that reflex. It doesn't even use the brain. And so when we talk about the sensory division, I'm specific when I say it carries impulses towards the central nervous system because it doesn't necessarily go to the brain. It just gets those impulses to either the brain or the spinal cord. Now, the motor division is going to be where we send information to the body, and that has two divisions as well: the somatic division and the autonomic division. Let's deal with the easy one first. What does autonomic sound like? Automatic. If something's automatic, what happens? It does it by itself. You don't have to, once again, think about it. You don't have to think about it. It just happens. It doesn't have anything to do with conscious control. It's involuntary. It just happens. We're going to talk about this a lot in the second unit, smooth muscle versus skeletal muscle. Smooth muscle is the muscle that we're not thinking about. Your digestive muscle, your glandular muscle, muscles that just work without us having to think about it. A lot of people like to bring up heartbeat. Heartbeat's actually not smooth muscle, and it's a special type of nervous system, so I don't really get into that as well because it's actually a cranial nerve that keeps your heartbeat going. But most of your digestive muscles, glands, things that just happen without us thinking about them, that is going to be your autonomic division. Your somatic division is your conscious control, the skeletal muscle, muscles that we control and muscles that we have to think about to control. Which one's breathing? Is breathing going to be conscious control of motor activity, somatic, or autonomic, involuntary?
Somatic.
It's actually both. Because you can do both, right? If you wanted to hold your breath for a little while, you can stop. But at some point, your somatic system is going to try to hold your breath. At some point, your autonomic system is going to kick in and take over and force you to breathe. Okay? So it actually has both. The phrenic nerve is going to dive into the diaphragm, and that is a involuntary control of your breathing, whereas you do have voluntary control of your diaphragm from different nerves. Okay? Next word that we're going to talk about, like I said, is kind of a new word for us, is histology. Histology is microscopic anatomy. Histology is anatomy where instead of dissecting something big and gross, and gross means big, macroscopic, we're dissecting microscopic things. We're looking at cells, individual cells. And so these are just the cells of the nervous system. I have 6 I'm going to mention, and then I'm going to spend a lot of time on just one. The 6 cells of the nervous system that are kind of extra cells, these are the support cells, the neuroglia. First one is astrocytes. These are just kind of providing framework for us in the central nervous system, providing spots for nerves to rest. Microglia are immune cells. What does an immune cell do?
Fights the bad cells.
Anything that doesn't belong, the microglia is going to attack and destroy. Now, your nervous system really doesn't have a very strong immune system because we have something called the blood-brain barrier. Your nervous system is really, really separated from the outside world. For something to get in your nervous system, it has to go through a lot of walls. And so this is kind of your last resort. If you do get a foreign object in your nervous system, these cells will recognize it and destroy them. Ependymal cells are going to help circulate cerebrospinal fluid, CSF. Cerebrospinal fluid is exactly what it sounds like. It's fluid that's surrounding your spinal cord and your cerebrum. Why do we need fluid surrounding our spinal cord and cerebrum? We've been active today. Let's be active again real quick. I want everybody to do this. Okay? I'm going to demonstrate. Okay? Now, let's think a little bit of physics real quick. When I do that, I'm moving 2 big things. I'm moving that, which is what? My skull. And inside my skull, not attached to my skull, is my brain. And if I do this, then as soon as I start, my brain kind of does that and kind of comes back. But then when I stop suddenly, my brain does what? It squishes into my skull. And how do you think that feels? It feels like crap. You're damaging your brain. But it doesn't really hurt just to do that one time because we have plenty of cerebrospinal fluid. We have plenty of cerebrospinal fluid. Now, if you're dehydrated, how do you think that's going to feel? It's going to feel terrible. It's going to hurt really bad. Because if you're dehydrated, you don't have as much cerebrospinal fluid, and you do that, and your brain smashes into your skull, and your brain says, holy crap, don't do that again. Pain, pain, pain. Why might you be dehydrated? 3 big ways I can think of that a young, healthy person would be dehydrated.
Not drinking water.
Your body's going to make you drink water. You're going to get thirsty and you're going to drink water. Rarely is a young, healthy person going to get dehydrated just from forgetting to drink water.
You sweat too much.
Activity.
Yeah.
Activity where you're either sweating too much or you are exerting yourself too much and you can get dehydrated. But even then, your body's going to say, hey, drink some water. 2 other ways that a young person could get dehydrated. One legal and one illegal. Well, let me rephrase. One legal but unfortunate and one illegal, and I better not hear nobody doing it in high school. So Kai just jumped right to the illegal one, and what'd you say? You could just stop at the second one. Alcohol. First one, the one that is legal and unfortunate, is being sick. Everybody has felt that dehydration. You get a virus or a bacterial infection. One of the biggest things the doctor says is drink plenty of fluids because you're vomiting and you're diarrhea and you're getting all these fluids are getting out of your body, and so you need to replace them. So that's one of the reasons you feel like crap when you get sick. But it's also why Kaya said alcohol. Now, if you're drinking, hey, Mr. Tyler, drinking don't hurt. What does hurt? From the drinking that none of you guys know because you've never been drinking before. What comes after drinking? The next day, a hangover. Maybe if you drink too much, throwing up, but a hangover. Okay, let's talk a little bit about alcohol. Alcohol suppresses ADH. Anti-diuretic hormone. I know what diuresis is.
Makes you diuretics, make you pee a lot.
Very good. Diuresis is making you pee. Anti-diuretic hormone is a hormone that all of our bodies are making right now, which is stopping us from making urine because you want to be in class, right? You make more anti-diuretic hormone when it's okay to go to the bathroom. Or excuse me, you make less anti-diuretic hormone when it's okay to go to the bathroom, and that's why you have to go to the bathroom. This is why, there's a little side note here, but this is why when you play hide and seek, you go and look and you find a really good hiding place, and you're like, oh my goodness gracious, you run and you find a good hiding place, and you get down and you be really, really quiet, and immediately you gotta go pee. Because your body's like, and we'll talk about this more later, but your body's like, okay, now we got plenty of time and we can make some urine and we can go to the bathroom. Antidiuretic hormone keeps that from happening. Drinking alcohol takes that antidiuretic hormone and squashes it. It takes that antidiuretic hormone and turns it down. So that when you drink alcohol, you have to go pee a whole lot, which is great for the bar. Why? So you can keep drinking, so you can drink even more. Not only that, I'm going to feed you free what at the bar? What'd you say? I can't hear you. Pretzels and peanuts and chips because they have what in them? Sodium that's going to make you even thirstier. So we have this kind of positive feedback loop that's making you pee and pee and pee and pee and pee. And the more you more you pee, the more you're thirsty, and the more you drink, the more you pee, and you end up at the end of the night so drunk that you just fall on your bed and you wake up in the morning with no water in your body. And you do that, and your brain says, holy crap, please don't ever do that again. Okay? And you also say, oh God, y'all gotta be quiet, y'all talking so loud, because all the little bones that are having thoughts in your head, are hearing sounds in your head, are not cushioned with water, and they're beating against each other, and you're like, oh, you guys are so loud, be quiet. That's what that's coming from. So if you don't want to get a hangover, it's a really, really, really simple, easy solution for when you do turn 21 and start to drink. What do you need to do? Drink water. Before you go to bed, drink a big old glass of water. Wake up in the middle of the night, have to go to the bathroom, drink a big old glass of water. Wake up in the morning, drink a big old glass of water. I had a friend in college that was a nurse and is now actually a doctor, but he was an Army nurse. And he would go out drinking because that's what Army nurses do, and the next day give himself a IV of fluids, because that's all that he needed. You can do the same thing with drinking, but it happens a whole lot faster if you give yourself an IV. So just a pretty simple thing. You'll hear all kinds of things all over the world about cures for a hangover, but the cures for a hangover when you do turn 21 and start to drink, which don't drink to excess. Please be careful. If you drink, don't drive, and don't drink to excess. But if you do, just replace your water. That's all you have to do. So all of that is to talk about this cerebrospinal fluid that's circulating around your ependymal cells. Now, what do we know about baby skulls? And this will kind of be where we'll leave off right here on the middle of these guys. Where's my skull? I need a skull. Got a skull somewhere. There's one up there. We think of our skull as one solid piece of bone. But if you look at it, you got all these lines on it. And baby skulls, when they're born, the lines aren't together. They have soft spots and things. And you can kind of squish a baby's head all around. That's why when a baby's first born, maybe they got a pointy head or something that don't look at you right. But babies' heads are really, really kind of flexible. You gotta be real careful with a baby. Make sure you hold the head. Be careful because you can hurt a baby. Okay. But another thing about a baby's head is that they're just starting to make this cerebrospinal fluid, and this cerebrospinal fluid kind of flows everywhere through these ventricles around your brain. And sometimes babies are born with a blockage in their cerebrospinal fluid, so that they can make it, but it can't get out. And you end up with these babies that look like Megamind. And I know that's kind of silly, but it's called hydrocephaly. Cephaly means head, hydro means water. So it's waterhead babies that have this kind of swollen head. Really simple surgical fix that in the United States it doesn't last long. You just go right in there, take care of it, and knock it out. But in parts of the developed world, you end up with children that get born that way, and there's no surgical fix that's available to them, and for the rest of their lives they end up with that misshapen head, which can cause mental deficiencies and other problems later in life. But neat little thing about cerebrospinal fluid. We're going to talk a lot tomorrow about myelin sheaths, which help speed up your transmission of an action potential. We'll talk about tomorrow. Oligodendrocytes are in the central nervous system, and Schwann cells are in the peripheral nervous system, and then satellite cells are kind of the astrocytes of your peripheral nervous system. Okay? Questions on just the cells? We'll save neurons for tomorrow. I want to give ourselves plenty of time on that. Everybody good? All right. Great first short day of nervous system.